Make sure that's going. Yep, it is. And that's cool because we can edit that all out later. Oh, I have to get my notes real quick. I'm going to have your CD.
Oh, thank you. If you need to stand on it, let me know.
One day I'm going to have a really, really big house.
No, you're never leaving.
Hisham, you got any pump-up music?
Pump-up music? Yeah.
You got something you're gonna walk up to the
I'll
long
look
walk
for
to the-
something.
Wait, Hisham, this is really embarrassing, but I've never asked it out loud before I start this recording. How do I pronounce your last name?
Oh, Arif.
Arif? Okay,
Yeah.
thank God. That's
Like
how I've always said
Arif.
it. Arif. Okay, cool. Alright, you ready, buddy?
Yeah, okay.
Alright, everyone comfy? Here, I'll give the housekeeping before we begin. Feel free to move around. Thanks for being so cozy. There's a restroom. It's blue. It's got a blue toilet. Coffee, wine. There's extra bread, so no panic. Yeah.
Sounds like a destination.
I know, right?
There's a restroom.
The blue bathroom. All right, welcome everyone. It's so nice to see you all here tonight. Thank you for joining us. I'm super excited to introduce Hisham Arif. My history with Hisham started at the height of the pandemic. And I'm not gonna lie, Hisham was stuck in Tunisia in an airport. I'd never seen him before, I'd never heard of him before. He joined our master's program and he was very thoughtful, very intellectual, a little crass, quite funny, super sarcastic. But this guy would not stop asking questions on our first day of class, and I was so annoyed. I was like, dude, it's like 2 a.m. in Tunisia, and it's like 6 p.m. here, and I'm like, can we just...
Way to go for selling me on reading for half an hour.
I know! He was just so thoughtful and had so many questions, and I was like, oh, I'm not going to like this guy at all. Second class period comes up. He's still in some long-lost airport halfway across the world.
That was Qatar, Doha.
He's in Qatar. It's like 2 a.m. and he's like 100% there, ready to participate. And I'm like, can we just get done with this class and get done early? And so I did. I thought right away, I was like, I'm not going to like this man. And it did not take long, doing multiple classes together, when I realized just how very, very thoughtful and endlessly curious and caring he was. And I will say, I get a little verklempt saying it, but Hisham's always felt like my MFA big brother. I've always loved hearing his writing. And like I said, he's very thoughtful, he's very genuine, he's very caring. And I'm just so proud to have you here tonight. And
shut up.
And I'm so sorry I was so rough on you when I first met you.
I was like looking for people to drive me home.
Yeah, well, I'll call you an Uber, babe.
Yeah.
But no, I'm very proud to have known you. I'm very,
Likewise.
very sad that you're leaving us, but I'm so glad that you can be here tonight to share your beautiful, thoughtful, genuine, very, very careful words. And thank you for being here tonight. Hisham Arif.
One second. Ads. Come on. Minnesota politicians at each other's throats again. So is this supposed to... This isn't part of the show. Yeah, I'm Hisham. I used to be a starving artist, but then I got a chicken sandwich, so it's fine. That's the only joke I have, I'm sorry. I'm not published yet, but I really love stories. I'm not in a hurry to do that. I feel like I'm going to be a forever student of this stuff. And I've been really into Flash lately and short form because I feel like the longer pieces are kind of putting people's attention spans to the test, and we're already like coming out of this pandemic, and it's so uncomfortable like seeing people again still. I think these pieces are, you're either gonna like them or they're gonna be very short, so you're not gonna hate them for a very long time. So yeah, let's get started with the first one. It's
Light the
called.
candle.
Oh shit! Yeah, it's very apt. This one is called "Parts of a Fire."
Ooh.
Yes. Come on, you can do better than that. Okay. So, "Parts of a Fire." 2 weeks after the tragedy, you're allowed to go inside with a fireman and a mask. The things that are left are also indescribable, except they continue to smolder. West District, Englewood, Des Moines Street, Jeff's Bistro, Ali's, Alligator's Pub, and the National Museum of Teeth all went up in flames, and the city is now half of itself. The fire began in Jeff's Bistro, as we thought all fires did. The benign ones at least. Jeff's was not an institution. The man himself would not stand for that name, because he thought the term stank, and like everything that stinks, it brings flies, and God knows Jeff hated flies more than anyone. Even when the kitchen had been immaculate, and free of any pest or stain or stray onion dice in all the 42 years Jeff worked the place, we all saw him dance around the hanging fly tapes while making 30 orders of the only dish he knew how to cook. He called it popped pork, shortened to pop pork. Jeff was a hidebound man and did things the way his old man had taught. Feed the mouths that come in, worry about the payment in the books, no menus, no checks. The only way you could order in the place back when it wasn't an institution was to rise above the hum of the crowd and belt out, "Pop pork!" No additions, no subtractions, no multiple orders, just yell, eat, get the fuck out. Now, Jeff sits on a charred stool, and all he says is, "Pop pork, pop pork." The next to light up is Des Moines Street, the main drag of West District, where you could get a hat, a coat, a lock and key, a car tune-up, some sleeping pills and cigarettes, and a pop pork in the evenings. But if you wanted to get a drink, you had to go around the corner to Ali's Alligators. Now, it was important back then to clarify that this was not a pub owned by Ali, but by her ex-fiancé Doug, whom she called her little alligator, back when they were fixing to tie the knot. All the crawlers had joked that Ali called Doug an alligator because he snapped at her. But in fact, he was just the sweetest man who mixed a whiskey so sour it reminded the crawlers of their mothers. The reason she called him an alligator, Ali tells me, is because he'd been terrified of opening his own business. And she told him he just needed to project confidence, to sit by the watering hole unfazed and unflinching like an alligator. She then says to me, head in hands and sobbing, that Doug's pub just sounded so silly. The National Museum of Teeth got off easy. The place is currently closed for repairs and renovations. Most of the teeth survived. Chet Baker, Frankie Campbell, Anthony Bourdain, Sarah Vaughan, Norman Rockwell, JFK, LBJ, Fred Trump, and Bin Laden's pearly whites all calcified but otherwise remained in presentable condition. Thank God. We still have Fred Trump's teeth. Englewood was the least fortunate and longest cooked by the fire. The housing project, built in 1977 to house Laotian immigrants who'd fled from the war, became a mental hospital, then a local newspaper, then a department store. Then the recession hit and it came full circle to low-income housing again. So of course, there'd still been reams of newspaper locked up on the roof, and of course there was a survivalist bunker packed to the ceiling with jerry cans of gasoline. And of course, it was mostly minorities who lived on the higher floors and got stuck. But nobody saw that westward August breeze coming through to even it all out. And now, the urban planners and investors and lobbyists are abuzz with their plans and drawing boards and hard hats and tweets to make it great again, build it back better, kinder, gentler, changed, same. The people are quieter now. not mourning, just more docile. Like they've lost all their heat. Like the lanterns that had once drawn them in are now just old parts of a fire. Yeah. That one was about gentrification. That wasn't obvious. Stop, like, making your country one big city. More Starbucks. Yeah. The next one is a bit trickier to read because there are almost no breaths. This is going to kill me. But I'm looking forward to the experience, and I'm sure you will as well, to see me struggle. Because there's something magical about seeing someone who thinks they're an artist struggle. Yeah.
That's art.
Yeah. Aptly, it's called A Special Place in Hell. A lot of these are very fiery. So, yeah, Special Place in Hell. There's a special place in hell for anyone who, thinking they're somehow special and therefore exempt of so-called outstanding divine judgment, says there's a special place in hell for anyone. That sentence confused me too. After all, who's to say I am deserving of any kind of special treatment, however punitive, going by a single arbitrary quirk or tick that the judicious anyone team deems uncouth or even cosmically unacceptable? Sorry, graveyard shift thoughts. You only ever get 5 customers max between 12 and 8, but goddamn are they colorful personalities, and goddamn have they all earned their own special coupon to an exclusive satanic suite with their kindred souls in the forever fire. I, on the other hand, am just a guy who got a pharmacy cake to trip out on diazepam. If there is a special place anywhere for me, I'm willing to bet it is packed to the rafters with my hobbled kind. So far, I've had 3 hellacious anyones come up to me in the middle of their nightly yatras, sourcing some sort of catalyst for a night either filled with glory or regret, depending on how their eyes caught the fluorescent lights that filmed over everything with a tint of jaundiced green. It's been a real drag, not entirely exasperated by the fact that it took 9 days to get into the pharmacy psychotropics and find ways to enhance my undemanding work hours with a little chemistry. After the 3rd Hellraiser VIP fucks off with their band-aids or condoms or vitamin chewies, I start to feel a little down. Not from the pills, but like existentially, man. Like, out there's some galaxy shaped like my right ear, and it's a landmark in space. Space mark! At which spaceships stop and tiny little space children point and laugh. Yeah, that kind of sadness. Like the universe is taking note of my stigmatic mid-90s mediocrity and the square stud I wear on my right ear to represent it. I go out for a smoke and I'm hit with the competing trails of headlights and taillights pouring along the highway as I stand on the shoulder where the pharmacy perched itself. And just as I get ready to let go of the burnt-out cigarette, a car crashes. And another car crashes. Two cars crash into each other. Wait, I should reiterate. One car leapt off the shoulder onto oncoming traffic. The other car, minding its business and taking a couple home, became a landing platform for the first. I get a good look at this. All this mess as it unfolds. It's not in slow motion or anything hacky like that. It's more like my eyes take photographs and my head places them on a slide carousel and rotates them over and over and over. So the first car lands on the other. Well, it lands on the other car's driver's face. I mean, a tire actually breaks through and mashes into the second car's driver's skull, and the latter explodes. And all the while, I'm there holding my cigarette, thinking about the time I went to this prop comedy show back in the 90s. There were many half-assed attempts at fame during that decade, that god-awful decade, but the absolute worst, the epitome of the gormless plaid-wearing heretics we praised, the poster child of artistic meh, was the prop comic. I remember I watched this wiry dude pull a mallet from under a cloth table, and an assistant brings out a melon as the comic fixed his head with a pair of safety goggles. The crowd cheered. He feigned twice, and then splat. It was everywhere. For 2 weeks, I pulled out seeds and rinds from all corners of me in my criminally casual clothes. When the second car's driver's skull explodes and goes everywhere in the car, all I can think about is how the other passenger in the car will be cleaning bits of skull out of their folds for weeks, and how that must be its own special place in hell. Oh, it's dark. We can take a little break.
I think your incantation before you lit the candle of "oh shit" was
Yeah.
perfect.
Yeah.
Wow.
I don't know. I mean, do you guys have any questions about these weird 4 pages?
Hisham, how long have you been writing?
Oh, that's a conflict. No, it's not. I actually have a weird story about that. The first time I wrote, I don't know if I should tell this story. I had weird.
You already talked about bone shards in here. So you
Yeah,
can go
yeah.
for it.
I had weird parents. I love them. They're great. They are not
they
like
unpeaceful?
yeah.
Where are they?
Huh?
Where are they?
They're in Libya, North Africa, my home country. Yeah. Yeah, I can tell this story.
They don't.
My
They don't know.
my parents were really focused on my academics. I was a straight A student, had nothing to do with art or literature or writing or whatever. Like anything that preambled with the word starving was out of the question. But I liked video games, and because I got like a B or a C in history or something, like my parents grounded me and took away my video games. And there was one point where my mom tied me to a chair with telephone wire.
Harsh.
Yeah. She's nice though.
Yeah.
I swear. Not joking.
That needs to be in a.
Yeah.
That needs to be in a story.
Yeah, maybe.
My mom tied me to a chair with telephone wire. She's
Yeah.
nice though.
Yeah. And I was like probably in my rebellious phase, or just starting my rebellious phase, so I started like writing one of the video games that I really liked, and that was like my first attempt. It's terrible, but you can't really pick your what they call creation story. Yeah. But after that, like, I experimented with it a lot, and eventually I'm here, so I must have done something right, being with all of you.
Special place in hell.
Yeah.
I have a follow-up question.
Go for it.
Would you speak to my children after the lectern tonight?
Sure.
About their grades?
Absolutely not.
I have some telephone.
How much time?
Yeah.
I have some extra.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the creation story. Any other questions?
How does the stream of consciousness feel? Like, were you able to write that just, or did you kind of get it all out and then have to make it stream of consciousness?
So these two pieces came out of prompts, like from
Yeah.
the workshop we do, and a lot of people here with me in that workshop. And I think the reason they work is that I don't have time to think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I don't have time to think, I just go for the first connection I find between two sentences. And just keep going and going and going until the clock runs out, and that's where it stops. And then I flesh it out a little bit, but not too much. Yeah. And I like stream of consciousness because it makes it seem like I have this like I'm doing it on purpose, but there really isn't a lot of intention. The intention is in the revision process, not in the first draft process.
So, I'm assuming you're multilingual.
Bilingual.
Bilingual.
Yeah, yes.
Okay.
English and Arabic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And no French?
No, God no.
So,
I tried.
I mean,
honestly tried.
there's such a huge difference
Yeah.
in traditions, literary traditions between languages. So I'm really curious about
Yeah.
how, Arab literature in Arabic
Uh-huh.
and from what era might be kind of influencing or inspiring
Yeah, I
or
see.
bouncing
I see
off
what
it
you're
at all.
getting at.
Yeah.
The weird thing is that English was my first language. I
Uh-huh.
spoke English when I was 3, and it was like, I'm a product of Disney movies, like the old,
What's your favorite?
politically, Peter Pan.
Oh.
Yeah, always. But yeah, English was my first language. So in a way, I guess I share something with Americans in that I'm a little bit removed from my roots, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
Even though, like, I spent time in my home country, I'm not like a third generation immigrant or come from from an immigrated family.
Yeah.
I'm actually like not from here at all, but it's because I've been exposed to all this media that I speak this well, that I write somewhat well, that kind of thing.
My other question is, I know I've met you before, and I'm trying to figure out where.
Yeah, it's I don't know. For Arabic, it's I don't feel there's a lot of old attachment to it, but connections are coming up right now. I just feel like they're still raw. They kind of need their time. Yeah, that sounded very pretentious. I'm sorry for that.
No, it doesn't, because like I would imagine like the cadences are different
Absolutely,
between
yes.
both
It's a lot.
languages, and so then what do you choose? Of course, you're probably going to choose your first language, which
Yeah.
is English. But I'm sure that the
Yeah,
other history is in the back of your head with the
English
other-
is easier. A lot easier than Arabic. Arabic is still it's still systematic. It's still stuck on its own. The Arabic canon is still like they still like covet their Walt Whitmans and their kind of Frosts and that kind of thing. They don't leave a lot of room for contemporary artists to grow because there's also religious stigma, which is another thing. Like there are specific subjects that you can't talk about, otherwise you're going to be exiled or you're not going to have a good life. So writing is not that open.
dangerous.
Yeah,
kind of.
it is. I know 3 professional writers in my country. One of them won the Arabic version of the Booker Prize, and he's in Tunisia now because he's been demonized for his book.
Wow.
Purely just because it had like allusions to homosexuality and like allusions to atheism and like separating religion from how a country runs and that kind of thing. Just
Yes.
hints. Yeah.
It's dangerous being a truth teller.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes
Especially in those kinds of
Yeah.
countries, right? Like, still, I would give it like another good 50 years before I can enter like with the Arabic language. At
So
least
50 years from tonight.
Yes. Yes, mark your calendars. November 4th, 2029.
Because it
2070.
had such a distinct rhythm, the last one, the stream of consciousness one.
Oh,
I mean,
yeah.
even though it was just like kind of blah, I saw this thing,
Yeah.
there was a
I definitely do have a lot of blah.
that's how
I
I
get
meant.
you.
It was just
I
like
understand.
wash, like this rush of words and
Yeah.
images and brains and
Yeah.
but it had a rhythm behind it, and that's interesting.
Yeah, it's I like this piece because it is tied to an actual event that happened, the car accident, and even though I didn't see it, I was affected by it because the person out of that car crash was a relative, sorry, a cousin. But yeah, I try, and I tell this to my peers a lot. I don't like including like my personal life story into my writing. I kind of let it feed it indirectly, and that is nothing but personal taste, nothing else. It doesn't mean like someone who writes their life is absolutely not a lesser artist or anything. I mean, I don't see myself like. I haven't earned the words yet. I haven't earned the word writer yet. I don't know.
That's just him being humble.
Shut up.
That's just him being humble.
I don't know.
What did we say? We said Scotch, Notre Dame, and what was another thing I told you to do? And then you'll be fine.
Oh, go to a country you haven't seen before.
Yeah, in a country you haven't seen before.
You're right, Russia.
Yeah. Shall we move on?
It is.
You guys really grilled me. This story. This story came out of a dream in which I murdered someone with my brother and hid the murder for 30 years.
And you called that a dream, not a nightmare?
That says something about me as well, doesn't it? Right? Yeah, but it wasn't a fun time. It wasn't a nightmare. I didn't break out in sweats, but yeah, it wasn't a fun time. I remember like a very visceral feeling of guilt, and that's what I wrote against in this story. I gave it a very generic title just because I wanted to see what it becomes, because I feel like titles kind of restrict stories. You create this expectation that it's supposed to end in a certain way or go a certain way, so the title is just Falling in Love, even though it's not that much connected to it, it's just a theme. And I'll start. She wasn't very fond of measuring distances, so she couldn't tell you how far she fell before her legs folded, her back snapped, and skull cracked open like the eggs she cooked for the three of us that morning. We had decided it was a calm enough day to swim, and that the toothy stretch of gorge, some known distance from the town, had been the perfect place for three teenagers who wanted danger and sex, but had only ever been allowed the former. My brother, 3 years ahead of me into life and love, was the last to touch her before she fell. Her and he had made a habit of groping each other in times of threat, a way to coax their less fearful inner beasts, which was beyond the reaches of my understanding, but not my jealousy. He had dug his hands under her shirt, and she yelped before she caught a mean rock with her heel. For one breath, the valley swallowed up all the wind. A cloud settled under the sun. The two figures, her and my brother, held onto each other in the way star-crossed young lovers do. Ferocious, selfish, weak in the eyes of the world. All at once, the valley sighed, the clouds scattered, the sun glared down at the gorge, the bedrock nipped at our feet, leaving hot, sharp cuts as we raced down to the riverbed where she stopped. In her wide-open eyes, there was a fleeting glint of betrayal. She coughed and whistled out a laugh through the space where her two front teeth had been. All the while, my brother had this drifting gaze toward the river, the girl, the dry rocks that violently slowed her down. I remember because I had waited for him to speak, to say anything to float us out the valley and back to the days of boredom and celibacy and eggs that tasted vaguely of sardines. The days before we concealed our first and only murder together. We had never been unified on any matter since. The girl fell, he said. We had nothing to do with it, I said. In fact, we weren't anywhere near, he said. Fishing? I asked. Probably, or stealing chickens, he said. We're sorry, I said. Very sorry, he said. We didn't mean to hurt anyone, I said. He turned to me. Never, he said. I learned later that the funerals for the devastatingly young were different. We observed the deaths and burial of sick men, old wives, killed soldiers, and suicidal uncles with firm and confident protocol. A rehearsed sympathy, faces sullen and pulled down over the jaw, eyes guided down to the dirt-caked shoes of the bereaved, dry whispers of prayer droning on until the body is laid under and made cold with stones and mud and quiet. The young bodies never quite made it to their saddest resting place before sunset of the third day, before being pried away from the molten hands of their mad and broken mothers, before being turned and checked again and again for a shy heartbeat or a diabolical giggle, before being seen by every preacher, witch doctor, and saint that made it across the valley to our grieving town. Everything was different when it came to burying the young. Nobody knew where to look or how. Confusion trampled confidence, and the people tripped and slipped over each other like they were covered with a thick layer of tallow. The whispers were not of prayer but gossip, and the body itself was much lighter than any piece of soldier we had buried. The whole affair had been unspeakable. Even death, who had shocked children like the morning's oysters since the dawn of children, had no words. Such was the bedlam of our friends, our common lovers' funeral, that my brother and I agreed it had to be redone. She liked the woods, he said. She also liked the chicken coop, I said. Can't bury anything there. Chickens will just peck it out, he spoke between the whispers of prayer. What is there left to bury, I asked. He said nothing, reached into his pocket and pulled out 2 teeth. We went to the small clearing she liked to hide in when we played chase. Regardless of the memory, the woods were merely a place further away from the screams and skeletons where part of her could sleep while the rest of her rolled under the soil next to all her past relatives. We buried the teeth, said several words between us. Her fishy eggs were good. Her skin was very soft. My brother and I hardly spoke after burying her. We took to different things. I fished, he hunted. I was often near the river. He was always in the woods. She had a sister, older and not quite all there. Her name, which didn't hurt to say, was Colleen. Colleen had told me in one of the times she caught me sleeping near the riverbed with my fishing pole scraping against the rocks downstream that she suspected her sister had been killed. Pushed or something, she said. Something, I asked. I don't know yet, she said. A month passed. We met again a little farther downstream. She believed her sister had been raped. There were marks on her right breast. Looked like fingers, she said. Why does that mean she was raped, I said. She was groped and killed. Something missing in between, she said. What if she just fell, I said. It doesn't make any sense, she said. Like I said, she wasn't quite all there. She walked in on her uncle one day, just as she was folding up his clothes, placing them next to a blank paper, a pen, a hunting rifle. She said he looked at her, went straight for the rifle, and fired into his chin. I guess having her there made the paper and pen redundant. She saw the evil in things, much too vividly. This is the human soul, she had once said to all 3 of us, holding a cast-iron skillet and scraping the coat of soot and grime with her finger. Even as I saw her hop down the rocky steps day after day, I knew she had a subtle curling of the lips, the one she gets when she finds out she was right all along. It didn't matter to her, so long as there was soot and grime to be scraped. I think it was your brother, she said. What makes you say a horrible thing like that, I said. They were close. She trusted him, she said. You don't? I said. I don't. All this hunting has to be something else, she said. Like what, I said. Something terrible, I just know it, she said. Another month passed. I lost my pole some time before or around then. I just sat there for I don't know how long. When Colleen's sister died, time became muddy and sly. It seemed to slither and stop and pounce, even wind back. The cloudless sky, the scooped-out valley without a blot of shadow, the sun hanging dead center above my forehead, piercing light through my eyelids in flares of red and green and yellow. Through the burning streams, I saw Colleen running through a patch of foxgloves, ripping and eating up all that she can fit in her mouth before falling dead in the brush. I saw her sister, my flying beloved, circumnavigating around a hailstorm of rifle pellets and waterfowl of all different sizes and plumage. Then I saw my brother chewing a swan's heart and smiling, blood spurting out the space where his 2 front teeth had been. Out of the gap exploded 2 shotgun shells into my chest. They were cold, like big drops of water, because that was just what they were when I woke up to find Colleen standing on top of me with her hands cupped, raised to the heavens and bringing rain. I had an idea, she said. Colleen, why can't you just leave me be? I said. I need to talk it through. Find someone else, I said. Turned on my side and shut my eyes. I wanted to tell her. So she'd stop digging things up, but I kept remembering my brother's face when we started all this. Never, he'd said. There was this weight pushing against my ribs. Colleen had been sitting on my side, clumping up mud into her hand. I kicked and screamed. "Stop it! Stop!" I said. "Will you listen to me?" she said, globs of mud dripping down from her hand onto my cheek. "No," I said. "If you won't, might as well plug up your ears," she said, and began inching her muddy hand closer. "Here, I'll help you," she said. "Fuck off, Colleen," I said. She stopped, her jaw slacked, eyebrows curled up, her hand lowered, and it seemed like I got her to stop until she reached for my mouth. Her hand cut into my lips and peeled them back. "What the fuck are you doing?" I said. "Washing away the grime," she said. She wiped the mud so hard it felt like I was getting my teeth scrubbed with silt. "I'll kill you, Colleen," I said. She shook, her hand went limp, and gradually, so did the rest of her body. Her mouth began to twitch and contort, eyes shot right at me, nose creased like an animal in a trap full of fear and outrage. "Must run in the family," she said, and got up. She fell, she just fell, "I swear to you, Colleen," I said. She was sucking in air, holding back something I hadn't seen for the months we'd been talking. First time Mom let me hold her, I thought her head was so big, like a pumpkin. I danced with her in my arms, and she slipped, fell right on her pumpkin head, and shook it off like nothing. My mom never let me hold her again. Said she might grow messed up because of me. She grew up just fine, looked better than me, got taller faster, smarter, afraid of nothing. Didn't see any bad, and if she did, it didn't stop her from what she wanted anytime. Not like me, not one bit. Now let me ask you, if she just fell, if she died from that, just an accident, just slip of fate, girl like that, what's gonna happen to me? She said. She curled down into a ball and faced the river. I didn't say anything. I closed my eyes and saw all those waterfowl carcasses my brother had piled over the girl he killed accidentally or otherwise. "What does it mean?" I said. She didn't move, but I could tell she'd heard me. "The hunting, if it's not just hunting, what do you think my brother is doing it for?" I said. She inched her legs toward the water. I could hear it lapping at her toes. "You said it was something terrible. Tell me what you think it is," I said. She turned around to face me with that smile, and she got when she knew she'd been right all along. "I think he's looking for an answer," she said. "To what?" I said. She inched closer to me. "How he feels about it, or," she said, crawling closer, "or if he liked it," she said. "If he liked what?" She tilted her head, looked deep into my eyes, like she could guess the weight I'd been carrying in them, in kernels. Every rippling thought I'd had for the past 3 months had now been condensed to water, lapping at her toes. I'll stop there.
Wow.
I appreciate you guys for listening to this because it's really loud. Thank you. Right. I'm tired. Are you guys tired?
Are you doing Q&A or?
We could go for it. More questions, more prodding. I mean,
I have another question.
go for it. You're just getting me back for that first time we met.
Yeah, she told
I've got
she told
my
all
friends.
of us, like, just
Who
wait.
who did you like to read? Like who are your heroes?
So because I didn't get access to the American canon until I got here, I was kind of illegally downloading books.
Like who?
Uh,
Give us a list. I want to download
It's-
it illegally now.
it's super generic, but J.D. Salinger,
Okay.
Stephen King,
Okay.
can't remember. There was this dude called William Child who did like super colonial stuff before I knew colonial stuff was bad. And I loved him. I loved that shit. I loved like like white Europeans coming to showing me how to do things. Like, like Father Smith coming like to Africa to kind of set the Arabs free, like the Lawrence of Arabia. I'm trying to think of others. I really tried to read Tolkien, but like the movies, I always find myself sleeping by the first act, and I realize that's not fair. It's just maybe not for me. Really good. I mean, it's just the airport stuff. John Grisham. I had a John Grisham phase, even though like I got nothing out of John Grisham.
Tell me about Dan Brown.
Do
you like Dan Brown?
No, my mother does.
Oh.
That's why I don't like him.
I like your mother.
But she's very nice, though.
Yeah,
Except for
she
the
is
telephone
very nice.
wire.
She just likes Dan Brown.
So wait, okay, so since being here,
Mhm.
who's kind of blown you away? Who's opened the world for you?
Oh, living or dead?
Either. Whoever's you've been reading since you've been in the MFA.
Oh,
So
Sure.
when did first of all, can I ask, when did you get here?
January 15th, 2021, the coldest night of last
Yeah.
year.
Yeah.
And then her question.
Yeah. Right now, lately it's been Edward P. Jones, Jeff Vandermeer. I'm getting into Kurt Vonnegut. Who else? I read a lot of short stories, like off-the-wall short stories, and I'm blanking now. I'm panicking, just
Yeah.
grasping at names. But because I'm so massively underread, I kind of depend on my classes to kind of consolidate. So I just take the names of whatever we studied in like fiction classes and poetry classes and just see what else those people are doing. I hate, or not I hate, well, I don't appreciate Russian novels. I get the idea that it was like the first thing that started like Western storytelling or whatever. It's just not interesting to me. Yasunari Kawabata, Japanese writer, amazing flash fiction, beautiful. There's also Colette, French. Angela Carter too. She's British.
Yes. Did you read The Bloody Chamber?
No, it wasn't The Bloody Chamber. It was a really long name with a doctor in it. I forgot. I forgot the Angry Machines or the Vile Machines, something of Doctor something or other. Yeah. But yes, I still consider myself massively underread. I have like a ton of books that I got here, and I don't know how I'm gonna ship them back.
We'll
I'll
help you.
figure it out.
We'll figure it
Yeah.
out. I'll go
Appreciate
with
you
you
guys.
with a giant suitcase.
Oh, that would be awesome. Yeah. And then a giant suitcase for you.
Right,
like, to
right,
hide
right,
it,
right.
so, yeah. Shall we conclude?
No, I don't think I'm ready. Are you
Okay.
ready?
Oh, okay.
No,
All right.
it's summer
Another question. As
Okay.
somebody who might possibly also be in your flash fiction class,
Yeah.
so like when you hear an idea, it seems like you hear a prompt and you make this amazing story from it. Could you kind of walk us through your process?
Oh. Well, it's not an amazing story at first. It's this is just pure revision. I can show you what it looked like in my Canvas book. So, like, it's just a few words and clues, and I'm very, very not picky about it. I understand. I kind of. It sounds cliche to say, but trust the process. Trust the process and say it. Like, beat it into your head
Like, but
with a
what do you
brick.
mean by that? What?
The process is an ugly, infuriating thing. It's like like trying to mop up the ocean sometimes. That's how it feels. And it feels pointless sometimes, but you come out of it. You definitely come out of it a better person. You may not come out with a piece that survives it, but you
You
come
just
out.
keep writing.
Yeah. I had a terrible experience with a novel last year. I wrote about 56,000 words of like absolute nothing, just shredder feed. I feel sorry for the trees that gave like their
That's what they're here
like
for.
their bark for
That's what they're
that
here
story.
for.
Yeah, it's I don't know, but yeah, trust the process, and I'm sure like this room is filled with people who trust the process. I know.
How do you approach revision then? That's where you bring your intent in.
Oh, that is a fantastic question. So I don't do the global stuff. So one thing they tell you in school is to start with POV. What is the opening image? And what are the characters doing? And like, I feel like that stuff can remain spontaneous. I work sentence level. I just work sentence level. To me, it feels like compass and pencil. Like how, for these two pieces, the first two pieces, like not the very long, exhausting one, it was like word by word, sentence by sentence. And this year I've been getting into like getting my feet wet with poetry because I feel like poets have a better grasp of that. Like they have more a closer relationship with words than like pure or Puritan fiction writers do.
Yeah.
Like
We fooled you good. We fooled you good.
yes, absolutely. Yeah.
But Arabic poetry, I mean, that's like an honored status and tradition, isn't it?
Yeah, I had shitty Arabic teachers, so I don't know.
That's what made you through out history, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I've been told that it's like historic and
Yeah.
great and fantastic. I just didn't see it because like my teachers just didn't show up and like didn't feel like doing the class. They had us like.
That's horrible. I'm sorry for that.
Yeah, it's I think there's a huge disconnect between Arabic and the Arabic region because we all speak in accents, and it's the accent is very distant from the root language. So because of that, you're not directly like learning to speak by studying this language. You're learning to speak from your parents, this just purely spoken, not written dialect. So it's not useful.
So nobody writes in the spoken Arabic?
No. They do it in commercials. They write copy with it just because it's the language that people understand.
The real art
Yeah.
from it.
Yeah, it's
Not
it's
like
similar to
books
how
or-
Chinese there's like Fuzhou and like Fujonese and Cantonese and Mandarin. Like a lot of people are like in China are like my Cantonese isn't very good. Yeah, but it's I would say it's similar to that.
Any other questions for Hisham?
Okay.
Was there more, or will there be more to the
Ah,
last
actually,
reading?
could you talk about that,
Yeah.
please?
What?
Your
you
last
mean-
story.
Oh, so the last story is 26 pages. I will not
Ooh.
like put you guys through that. I have been in readings that are long, and I understand like well writers do have the panel, and but still you need to be mindful that people have their lives and their concerns. So
Will also leave them wanting more. So, like, you're having a reading, you're having a.
Oh.
yeah, thesis reading at the 410 Project, November 18th. 410 Project tells me that they function on donations, so if you're feeling generous, donate to the 410 Project.
And what time is it?
Good question. 6 p.m.
And
Yeah.
if we're hanging on a cliff, where can we read the rest of this story?
The Lectern Series. That's what you
Yeah,
told me to say, right?
LecternSeries.com. And
Really?
he has a different story he's sharing for his
Yeah.
thesis. So
Yeah.
if
That
you
one.
want to read the rest of this story, you can visit the website, but
Mhm.
definitely go to his thesis reading because
Yeah.
obviously he's phenomenal.
So that means you've graduated, or
Pretty much.
Hopefully.
I mean, I'm
And so you
packing
found-
my bags.
And so you found Mankato.
Huh?
Oh, you found Mankato and you just
No,
said,
it's I'm a scholarship student, so there's something called the Fulbright program that does
Oh,
scholarships for. So they do scholarships for U.S. students to study outside, like a cultural exchange, South America, Europe, China, wherever. And there's also like a counterpart to the program where they take people from other countries to study here. And they place you. You have no say. You get to pick like your recommended schools.
Welcome to Mankato.
Yeah, it's. But I have found like it was Rick Robbins. He's the retired. Was he the chair or?
Yeah, he was
Professor.
chair for a
Yeah,
while and
a retired chair. He actually reached out to my scholarship advisor and then to me, and I got to talking to him and felt very comfortable, like trusting him. So that's why.
And then so you're graduating.
Yeah.
And then what?
Go
then
back
he made
home.
best friends like me.
What?
And then he goes back.
Yeah. It's go back home for a stint, and then I'm working at this arts / animation studio in Istanbul, Turkey. So that's I do screenwriting for that. So, and hopefully I'm working on this collection if I don't get too distracted.
I can sort of see, your writing is pretty visual and
Yeah.
with that last one I could almost see it as,
right.
as like
It's very different from what like my friends here who've seen like my previous work, like the gross stuff that I don't want you all to see. They can. I'm sure they can see differences between this and like what I used to do. At least I hope they do. Yeah.
Thank you, Hisham. All right,
Thank
one
you
more
guys.
one more time. I'd like to plug Hisham,
Yes.
my older brother, MFA.
Right.
We'll
Just
be
because
doing.
I'm taller.
It's just because you're smarter.
I don't think
Hisham's
so.
going to be doing his thesis reading November 18th at the 410 Project at 6 p.m. And obviously you got a taste. You should totally join. And thank you, Hisham.
Yeah. Thank you guys for having me.
All right.
Thank you for having me.
You're going to blow it out.
okay.
That's better than ocean.
Birthday too.
Thanks, Hisham.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Sham, I think I met you at
Speaking
the
of
wine
pleasure,
cafe.
Really?
Did you go to
Oh, thank you.
It was
Are you
over
ready to
summer and they were doing